for you. Today, both campaigns were making their case to voters in our state. It's one of their final pitches ahead of next week. So you've heard the speeches, right? You've seen the commercials, and a lot of you have already made up your mind. In fact, as of today, more than 3.3 million people in North Carolina have cast their ballot as part of early voting. That's despite Hurricane Helene's impact in the western part of the state. Folks there are still turning out. And North Carolina isn't the only state seeing a huge turnout for early voting. But similar to 2020, it could take longer than election night to find out who's actually won. So in tonight's cover story, we're looking at the reasons why. And could this year be different than 2020?
Folks, the people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory.
You remember President Biden wasn't declared the winner of the 2020 presidential race until the Saturday of election week. It took that long. It was an election similar to 2000 when we didn't know the results right away either. Except, you will remember 4 years ago, we were in the middle of the deadly COVID-19 pandemic. Millions more of Americans chose to vote by mail for safety reasons. A lot of people still turned up to vote in person, but some states say they weren't ready for just that influx of mail-in ballots. Some states weren't allowed to process those ballots ahead of election night, and that certainly slowed things down. Mail-in ballots, they're much more labor-intensive to process. And take a look here. Each one, they must be verified, removed from the envelope, and then loaded into a tabulator. All of this adds up, and it takes more time to get through it all. So, will this year be different? Well, the answer to that is yes. For one, fewer people are choosing to vote by mail this time around.
A lot of people were working from home, and it became easier to do the early voting. And also there is some concern that people have on both sides about how their votes are tallied.
This year we saw people, especially early on, wait in line for hours to cast their ballot in person for early voting in both of the Carolinas. So what else is different this time around?
It takes about a week to ensure that a mailed ballot gets back to the County Board of Elections by Election Day. And that is the new deadline by our state law of when an absentee ballot must be returned. County Boards of Elections must receive absentee by mail ballots by 7:30 p.m. Election Day in order for it to be counted.
That's important. So absentee ballots coming into the County Boards of Elections after 7:30 p.m. on election night won't be counted in North Carolina, something that could decrease wait times for some of the results. Now, other states have also changed their laws when it comes to elections this time around. 43 states now allow at least some type of ballot processing work before Election Day. However, multiple battleground states cannot begin processing certain ballots until the polls close election night. And that does include now North Carolina, where a new law requires counties to wait until the polls close at 7:30 on Election Day to begin counting early in-person ballots. So this year we may still be waiting to find out the results past election night, but perhaps a bit quicker than 2020 due to some of the other new rules that are in place. We shall see.